The story begins with a princess of humanity named Ha Jingna saying that as soon as he defeats the Demon King, he will return so they can have an incredible wedding. Crowned, he tells her not to worry, promising that he will definitely bring victory to their race. In the next scene, he is already face to face with the strongest base of the demons. Standing in front of it, he yells that he wants to see them resist this attack. With that, his entire group charges toward the Demon King. On that day, it had been 18 years since he joined the human army, and now finally they were about to destroy the strongest base of the demons. This was the last step for humanity to reclaim all of their lands. The protagonist declares that the battle of thousands of years will end by his hand. He slashes at the Demon King and claims that this is humanity's final victory. However, the creature looks at him and asks if he's sure about that. The system then warns him of the danger. The demon's stomach begins to swell, and he announces that if he's going to die, everyone will go with him. The poor protagonist asks why the demon has to be so toxic. With that, a massive explosion wipes out the area. As the smoke begins to clear, the system informs him that he has 2 minutes left to live. However, it also congratulates him for his leadership and for his contribution to the human race. As a reward for all he has done, he is given the chance to be reincarnated. The system asks if he wants to accept, and he clicks yes immediately. Only an idiot would refuse something like that. Then he hears a voice telling him to wake up because they're coming. He opens his eyes and realizes he has been reincarnated. Standing up, he mutters that the damn Demon King thought it would be easy to kill him. But right next to him, there's a group of horned demons staring at him. The protagonist looks around and asks why there's a bunch of ugly demons staring at him like that. An old demon named Lottie tells him to get moving because the Blue Union is coming and they're all going to die. Touching his face, the protagonist asks what the old man is talking about. Then he notices a mirror nearby and slowly moves to take a look. He is reincarnated as a ranky demon named Gan Dongwo. Panicked, he asks why in the world he reincarnated as a demon. He calls the damn system and demands an explanation as to why the hero of humanity has been reborn as a filthy creature like this. The other demons watch in confusion. The system appears and apologizes, saying there was a small error during the reincarnation process. He demands the system fix it, but it explains that, unfortunately, nothing can be done. In frustration, he grabs the system and demands to speak to the manager to find out who's running this mess. The system then says it will try to create an opportunity for him to be reborn. A mission appears. He can reincarnate as a human if he dies again. However, suicide won't work. The system disappears before his eyes. The demons around him ask if Gan Dongwo has gone crazy since waking up. The old man, Lottie, tells them not to worry. Every time something bad happens, he turns useless. Meanwhile, Dongwo is more concerned about the human princess marrying someone else. Then, a rank T mage named Lao Meyer says she senses the Blue Union approaching. Except for their leader, who is rank B, they stand no chance against these enemies. The only way to survive is to use the escape route. If the Union captures them, they'll be tortured. This Blue Union is actually a friend of Dongwo's, but now he's a demon. So he has the obvious idea of finding the humans so he can die and reincarnate. He heads toward the cave. The demons ask what he thinks he's doing. The old man warns him to leave because it's full of humans, but the protagonist says running away won't solve anyone's problems. He'll buy them as much time as possible so they can escape. The others are impressed and ask if this is the coward they've always known. Suddenly, Dongwo senses something. A magic circle appears above and rocks start falling. When he looks, the only exit is completely blocked. Then small footsteps approach. The daughter of the Demon King, a rank B demon named Liu Bingyi, says they grew up together. She refuses to leave anyone behind at a time like this. But Dongwo already wants to kill this girl who refuses to let him die. He prepares to punch her, telling her to forget it. He punches the rock, but he ends up losing health instead. Turning back, he calls her stupid, all while thinking about how much his hand hurts. Poor Binky wonders why she's being scolded. Meanwhile, Lottie asks how he dares speak to royalty like that. Dongwo responds that they should never underestimate a man's determination to sacrifice himself for others. Bingy blushes as she had never noticed how manly and courageous this boy could be. However, the others start saying that if the lunatic wants to die, they should let him. After all, everyone else needs to escape. Dongwo says that all they've been doing is hiding and asks what's so terrifying about humans, claiming that he's a brave demon. For everyone's safety, he will die with dignity. The group is left impressed while Dongwo desperately begs them to believe this nonsense. The problem is that Bingy is all emotional now. Lottie says it's better to let the boy go since he seems so determined. With that, Dongwo happily strides off, and indeed he soon comes face to face with the humans. Opening his arms wide, he taunts them to come at him, calling them a bunch of weak soldiers and daring anyone brave enough to kill him. The humans rush toward him, shouting about how they've just received a free target. Dongwo was overjoyed, thinking he will finally be reincarnated and return to being human. However, an arrow suddenly flies and hits one of the humans in the chest. Instantly, panic ensues as the humans scream that's a trap. Lottie, who has entered an exalted state, has risen to rank B+. He declares that it has been 3 years since he felt the thrill of battle like he did when fighting alongside the Demon King. The system explains that demons can gain a temporary surge of power when in an emotionally heightened state. Poor Poor Dongwo is devastated. Lodi then explains that ever since the Demon King's death, the lack of resistance had allowed humans to continue attacking demon lands. Because the demons kept running away, the humans assumed they were weak and kept taking everything. He then tells Dongwo that this time he's absolutely right. Bingmi steps forward, declaring that today the demon race will resist. The Blue Union soldiers are confused by what's happening, while Dongwo stands frozen, wondering why these demons are getting so inspired. Suddenly, Bingyi also enters an exalted state and rises to rank A. She announces that no demon will be left behind today. The humans are terrified as there wasn't supposed to be a rank A demon there. Bingyi begins to unleash a cosmic explosion of tribulation fire. She attacks the humans mercilessly, and in the next moment, a massive crater is formed. The once powerful Blue Union has been obliterated. To make things worse for Dongwo, he levels up not by 1, but by 10 levels at once and gains a pile of items. The poor guy collapses to the ground, crying, saying that ever since his first day as a demon, all he has wanted is to die. The scene shifts to the capital city of Yu and the Hu residence. A horn demon named Kayan Duko, though calling them horn is a bit pointless, since everyone is, after all, asked about the failed plan. Another demon wearing glasses responds to the royal figure, confirming the plan's failure. The original idea had been to wait for the perfect moment when Her Majesty was completely surrounded by the Blue Union. At that exact moment, Master Chang Wujin would lead the demon army to rescue her dramatically. He would stand atop the corpses of the humans and bring her back by the arm, ensuring she fell for him. However, the plan was a complete failure because Bingyi entered an exalted state and wiped out the Blue Union. Ken Duko then turns to the demon on the throne and asks the general what they should do now. The figure on the throne, Huan, declares that all military power still rests in his hands. Using the influence of the 3 great demon orders, they will force her to marry his son. He commands his troops to march the next day and make a formal marriage proposal. That nonsense about winning her love is a complete waste of time. At that moment, Bingyi is thinking about the protagonist, recalling how manly he was in such a dangerous situation. She summons Lao Meyer and instructs her to bring Dongwo, saying she wants to give him an appropriate reward. Lao Meyer wonders what kind of reward this could be, imagining the princess has something serious in mind. She tells Bingyi to wait while she fetches the boy. Meanwhile, Dongwo is busy drinking himself silly. The system advises him to start spending his points since he earned 120, but Dongwo curses at the system, refusing to spend anything. Looking at himself, he sees he is now a rank D demon. He's still relatively easy to kill, but the problem is figuring out where to find a human to do it. Suddenly, Lao Meyer arrives and informs him that Her Majesty is looking for the drunkard. However, Dongwo insists on testing something with her first. She asks why he's drunk so much, but before she can react, he pushes her aside, saying she's about to find out. He moves toward a fire and says he needs her help to die. She assumes he's asking her to kill him in some unconventional way, never imagining that this little guy could be so bold. She promptly knocks him unconscious, declaring that it's not the right time because, as of today, he belongs to Her Majesty. Sometime later, Dongwo finds himself in front of Bingyi, who grants him the freedom to walk throughout the palace. Additionally, he is gifted the Slayer's set, which will allow him to become a true hero. Lao Meyer is stunned, realizing that Bingyi has just handed over the armor of the former Demon King as a gift. Dongwo examines the set, full of rare items, and wonders why he's been given such an overpowered collection. Knowing she wouldn't accept that gift, Dongwo simply steps away, saying he's leaving. Bingyi, with her curvaceous figure, is startled that the boy doesn't seem impressed by it. However, as he's walking away, some individuals are watching him. An old man named Wai Ming is furious that Dongwo received the Demon King's set just for what he did that day. He says that such a reward should only be given to a demon who demonstrates power to the world, calling it irresponsible to do otherwise. Wai Ming seems to be an ally of the general on the throne, as he mentions that this act forces him to side with the man. At that moment, Dongwo approaches and calls out to the old man, who's already itching to kill this shameless brat who dares to push his luck. But instead, Dongwo stretches out his hand and says the set can stay with him. Wai Ming is shocked, asking why he would give it up. Dongwo simply tells him to keep it, explaining that he's trying to die and a set like this would only hinder his plans. He then adds that it was Her Majesty who asked him to hand it over as a token of appreciation for all Wai Ming had done for the city. Before Wai Ming can respond, Dongwo dashes off, waving goodbye. Wai Ming stands there, confused, until he suddenly yells to the heavens, calling himself shameless for even considering betraying Her Majesty. Later, Dongwo is sitting on a staircase, realizing there's no one in this place willing to kill him. Then he hears someone nearby saying the young master has finally returned. The person bows and informs him that the general has decided to begin operations tomorrow. Soldiers will be sent to propose a marriage between him and the princess, and anyone who opposes it will be killed immediately. This grabs Dongwo's attention. If that's the case, it seems he'll only have to stay in this filthy place for one more day. The next day at the kingdom's conference hall, many people are engaged in conversation, but Dongwo finds it boring and wishes they get to the important part. Kanduko then addresses Her Highness, saying that for 3 years the humans have been retreating further and further, unable even to capture the city. Bengi responds, saying the general's actions are indeed impressive, and he is responsible for many victories, deserving a reward. Ku then says that if Her Highness truly means